Okay, so let's just all stop feeling like we're invisible online, because there still is a way to stand out, even if we feel like it's too oversaturated or everybody's trying to be online nowadays. The key to cutting out the noise and getting over the daunting feeling of it being super overwhelming to start posting, constant comparison, and all the other stresses of building a brand online is finding a unique brand identity that you're so proud of, so confident with, that you don't even care what anybody else is doing. You're just so excited to look at your own. If you haven't already watched part 1 and part 2 of our 75 soft rebrand for 2025, then definitely go do that, because there's some tips over there that you're gonna need before you do the steps in this video. But if you already have watched it, welcome to part 3 of the series, where we're trying to figure out how you can brand yourself in a way to set yourself up for success, reach your goals, and evolve in 2025. Last week we talked about the 3 non-negotiables to set yourself up for success and building a strong brand in 2025. Today we are getting into the nitty-gritty of all that it takes to create a strong brand identity, plus some actionable steps that you can incorporate today to help you create a brand that people must know about. If this is your vibe, feels like something you need or something you're excited about, leave a green heart down below, let me know, and yeah, let's just get right into it. Today's mug featuring donuts. If you didn't know, now you know. I love a donut. One of the most important parts of a brand identity is the visual elements. And the first part of that is your logo or your main imagery. So your logo is your brand's like vibe. It's the representation of your logo in one small visual, or your imagery or vibe, which could be for a personal brand, which is like a headshot, cover art for a podcast, something that you submit in media kits, that type of content. Starting with the logo first, think about something that symbolizes your brand's content. Sorry, I don't know what I was just looking at. Symbolizes your brand's vibe overall and your brand purpose that you came up with already. For some of my clients, when I'm helping them create a brand, I like to think of different keywords that are associated with what their brand is about or what their goals are. And then I also like to think of little things that mean the opposite of what they're like, just to add something fun. I also encourage them to play with text, to play with letters, illustration, and just have fun with it overall. One thing I will say about having a logo though is to make sure that you have 3 different versions of it. You're gonna need these for different branding needs. The first thing is your original brand logo, like the main one, the one that most people know. It's like the full one. It has illustration and text or whatever. It has the full name written out. That's your main logo. Then you have an abbreviated version of this, which is just kind of like maybe one letter, or it just focuses on a specific icon, or it just focuses on a specific part of your logo. It's smaller and can be used as a branding stamp somewhere at the bottom of your socials, something like that. And then the third version is a simple icon that's memorable, associated with your brand, and can be used as a favicon, which is that little thing at the top of your toolbar when you're in a web browser that comes up next to the name. That is a favicon, and you want something that small. Secondary abbreviated logo could be the same also. If you're a personal brand and you're just looking for some new imagery, a really nice headshot will be cool. Something that kind of encompasses what you do, so people know, oh, she's a hairstylist, oh, she's a photographer, oh, she's a nail tech. Something where they can look at you and kind of get an idea of what you're about. I've also created some Pinterest boards for logos and personal brand imagery that you can check out just for some inspo. I thought they were really cool. I thought they all did a good job in illustrating what that specific brand's vibe is. So definitely check them out. They'll be linked in my description box. And if you just want to brainstorm or chat with somebody, I'm definitely here. You can send me a DM, or you can leave a comment down below. You can tell me what your content is about, what your brand is about, and we can kind of brainstorm some ideas to get you a concept that you really, really like. Definitely open to that, always. Okay, now diving into your color scheme and your fonts. This is a huge part in how you're gonna present yourself in all forms of branding, marketing, all that type of stuff. To make this super easy, I do have a free branding kit that will allow you to plug and play with different colors and fonts until you find a brand that you like. It leaves spaces for your logo as well. Just something that you can have to always go back to make sure you're using the exact same color on all of your platforms and all of your website, you know, everywhere. Same with fonts, because the more uniformity you have and the more consistency in that way, the more memorable you are, and the easier it is for you to connect with your audience, and it's easier for them to recognize you without you having to do too much. Similarly with fonts, you want to make sure that the fonts and the color kind of exudes the same like vibe. You don't want them to be kind of like not really make sense. You want them to mesh. You want it to be something that you can stick to, something you like. So I would definitely pick a main header font, a subheader which goes right under it, which may be a little bit more easy to read, and then your text font, which is like paragraph font. But yeah, download the guide. It has all that stuff in it and it'll really help you in this step. Now that we got the visual elements of your brand down, we need to focus on your brand's core, your brand's personality, what's on the inside. When personality is involved, it's easier for your brand to connect with your target audience because they feel like they have a connection with you, a bond. They feel like they've built trust with you, they feel seen, they feel heard, they vibe with what you bring to the table. That is really what can set you apart when you're trying to build this brand identity. And your brand personality shapes how your brand is perceived, just like a first impression with a person. So first, let's start with your tone of voice, your brand's tone of voice, the style of language in which you speak, in which you reshare things, write captions, announcements, blurbs. Do you want your brand to be playful, sarcastic, casual, professional, modern? The list goes on and on and on. But just make sure to pick 2 to 3 that you can stick to. Think of it as a way to humanize your brand as much as possible, as if they were a person sitting right next to you. Then slide over to your values and beliefs. This is just as important as personality. It's kind of like a subset. What does your brand stand for? Is your brand into mindfulness, sustainability, diversity, inclusivity? What movements would they support? What things are they fighting for? Pick 2 to 3 of these as well, ones that are genuine to you and genuine to your brand, and make sure you showcase that in your brand's content. This will make it so easy for customers and viewers to relate to you. And this could be the defining factor onto which way a client or viewer leans in terms of which brand they're gonna focus more on. The more that the viewer feels that they align with your brand, the more they're gonna watch you, the more they're gonna root for you, the more they're gonna buy from you. When you're talking to somebody and then they're like, and they do this, like that and is what you want that value and belief to be. Or like when you're describing like a new guy or girl that you're into, like, and they love dogs, and they believe in representation. Like, you see what I mean? You get the vibe? Okay. So let's lower the stakes here and let's list out the next steps to make it super easy for you so you know exactly what you have to do next. First, you're going to brainstorm the concept of your logo. You're going to look at one of the Pinterest boards that I have linked below. You can do your own research, come up with a concept, have it designed, something that fits your brand, use your brand purpose as a guide through all of this. If you are a personal brand, you're not really doing a logo, imagery. You're going to do the same thing where you're going to look at a Pinterest board down below and you're going to figure out what type of imagery you can take on your own too. Then you're going to pick a color scheme that you can apply to your logo. I would recommend having a dark version and a light version at least, maybe one that's a pop of color. You decide, but I would make sure that it can show up on all different types of backgrounds. Next, you're going to pick 2 to 3 personality traits and 2 to 3 values and beliefs. So you're going to have 4 to 6 total. That way, if you're describing your brand to somebody else and you're describing them like a friend, somebody could have a better understanding of them as a person. And lastly, you're going to download my free branding kit down below and incorporate all of these into the branding kit. It's very easy. It's a template for you to plug and play. And then it's also something for you to save and keep so you can be consistent. So now you've already set up your vision board and your goals. You've defined your brand purpose. You've figured out your brand identity. Your rebrand is looking pretty good. Next up, we're going to focus on consistency. We're going to talk about the tips and tricks that I use to stay consistent. I work a full-time job, I do content creation, and I manage multiple different social media accounts. I also try to have a life. So yeah, consistency is super important. So we're going to get into the tips and tricks of that next week. Let me know what you're struggling with below. If you need any help, have any questions, don't forget to leave a green heart, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.